So, good evening. We are back again. Hammers, mates. How are you, la?
Lee Gunner, man. Going on, my G.
I'm good, man. It's been a while, isn't it?
I'm sick.
How's
bro.
life?
I'm sick.
How's life treating you, my friend?
Yeah, we've still got grey skies in this bitch, so it's one of those things where, like, where I'm still pale as fuck, you're brown as anything, you're looking like a supermodel. But it's great to be back in the chat as well. Massive big up to everyone in the chat. Always important that we're liking, subscribing, and all that stuff. And congratulations to you on the good work that you've done over the window, lads. It's been fantastic to see. I saw it on your other channel as well. It was booming, so proud of you, man. It's good to see you again.
Nice one, man. Yeah, nice one. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, the second channel's flying, which reminds me, I will have a video out on that channel shortly after this stream ends about the Man United takeover. It looks like it could be done, although I am very skeptical with that. Apparently, Sheikh Jassim has won the bid. Yeah, how many times we heard that? And it'll be done after the transfer window ends. How convenient.
According to who?
David Ornstein.
Oh, that's actually a bit more serious now.
Yeah, but having said that, we have heard this a million times before. Mate, this has been going on since November last year. And I know it's a massive amount of money to be exchanging hands, but if they really seriously wanted to sell the club, it would have been gone months ago, surely.
That's right. I do have my skeptics about. I thought that was kind of done, to be honest. I thought that there was so much dilly-dallying about that. Maybe Glazers have just got there. And do you know one thing that doesn't make sense to me as well? Is the amount of money that they've put out there regarding transfers. I don't think the Glazers would be so dumb to just like keep investing the way they have done if they weren't intending to keep the club or have some involvement in the club. So that's why I'll sit there and I'll say, okay, then fine, it's okay if these dudes come in. But the things that have led up to this don't seem to make sense. As you say, many times it's been done and then it hasn't been done. So then that's a bit confusing. And then now apparently it's done again, but it's going to be after the window, which I suppose was the kind of rumour before. But then you're thinking, what's stopping it? Do you get what I mean? I understand. Listen, I'm not saying I've been involved in transactions in this like this before. Okay, I've never sold or bought a football club, so I understand. It's probably not as.
No way. And there's me thinking you were some sort of football entrepreneur, man, that owned a club in every country, and do you know what I mean?
Facts, bro. But like, but I just don't like. I understand it goes slightly beyond a bank card on a machine. But I'm just saying though, like, I don't understand what the hold up is. They've got so they've got the money. We've established this, and then they want to sell, supposedly. But I'm now confused. You know it, though, Lee? Why is it not happened? I'm actually on the board with you here. I don't understand. Let's just hope it doesn't.
It does seem very convenient that after this whole Greenwood incident, and the lack of their signings and their results have been poor, that all of a sudden, it'll be done when the transfer window ends. Well, when is that? That could be 3 years' time.
Do you think do you think they're creating a distraction to essentially divert the Man United fans' attention away from transfers and away from Greenwood
100%.
into that?
100%. Yes. Mate, their transfer window's been shambolic. I know we're going to come to Liverpool in a minute. Listen, there's 500 people in there. Make sure you sub to this channel, sub to James's channel as well. It's in the title. And their transfer window's been a joke. Like I'm in an RN over Amrabat for 20-odd million. Just go and buy him.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's not exactly like 120 million, is it? I mean, come on. Yeah, and I see like Man United fans saying, we've got no money until the Glazers leave. What a load of rubbish. They've got one of the biggest income streams in world football. And their wage bill has been, I think they've had 2 million quid taken off the wage bill in 12 months. 2 million quid a week. Yes, that's 50 million a year saved. And you're telling me Man United have got no money? Come on, this is like Barcelona trying to blag everyone they've got no money, and they've signed about 1 million players since. Like, it's a load of rubbish, man. And then the whole Greenwood incident, like, this is just it was Neil Custis that put it out there originally, and he does have links with United. Yeah, I think he travels around the country with United, so I think he is in the loop somewhere. But again, he's in the loop, but he's now the PR for the club.
Yes,
that's right. If he's getting freebies to every single game, then surely he's going to peddle out what they want. And then David Ornstein, listen, I don't rate that guy at all anyway. Yeah, that like, I know it's a bit more serious, like you said, when he puts it out there, but bro, this is the same guy that said Arsenal weren't signing any more players. Then we signed Welbeck an hour later.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think it's impossible. I mean, you have big journalists claiming like Bellingham's first choice was Liverpool, but it's like, what if tomorrow it's not? You know what I mean? Like, what if tomorrow it's not? Like, so even if you're right, today he wants Liverpool as number one, which I'm still going to doubt, but let's say you're right. What about tomorrow and the next day and the next? It doesn't mean anything. So I understand what you're saying. You can't take it with 100% credibility. And if there is an incentive, let's say there's someone linked to the club and it's worth them getting this information out, because there would be, me and you have just found an incentive for the Glazers to want to distract the Man United fans at this moment. It happens with every fan base. It happens with ours. So we're not just saying this is a United thing, but it's very much an American big organization realization, like, okay, we need to distract these people because they're going to start fuming. And then if it doesn't happen, it's only going to be a new excuse. It's like, okay, so here's the carry, follow the carry. Once we get to the end of the window, something else is probably going to pop up. If that happens, that will show what you've just said is right. That will show what you just said is true. That'll certify you being bang on, because it'd be smart to do that. That club right now, even when you just throw in like minor instances like the Anthony thing and whatever have you, and everyone's out in Ten Hag, and I don't think it's becoming, I think it's slowly becoming what it was when, you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer then transitioned to Ralph Ragnick, and it just becomes this sort of banter club. Whereas last season, they seem to have exited that for a temporary amount of time. But then now that you've gave Ten Hag heavy influence, he's going out and getting players that I just don't rate, man. You know what I mean? And I think they're even starting to clock like, maybe this isn't going to go.
Well, they've signed a striker with a dodgy back who can't play 2 or 3 games a week. Like, what? Apparently, he's got something wrong with. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe the chat can help us out. He's got something wrong with his back. He's got like I don't know. Listen, I've got a dodgy back. Yeah, I've got a double curve in my spine. Yeah, so I understand dodgy backs, but there's no way I could play a league.
They're not signing you to play up front, are they?
Exactly. There's no way I'm playing for Man United with this back, mate. Like, ain't happening. Yeah, but they've gone and signed. And the funny thing about that is he has the same agent as Ten Hag.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you actually look at their signings, he's either signed players that have played for Ajax or have played in that league, or have the same agent. It's like, it's almost like he's going down. I know you go down the route of, oh, I'm comfortable with these players. They've played for me before, but you have to come away from that. Like, you can't turn Man United into Ajax. Like, with all due respect, Ajax are massive, yeah, right. But that league is not massive, and that league is not great. And we see that when teams like Ajax get in the Champions League, they don't really do much apart from the, you know, well, in fact, he was the manager when Tottenham came back and Lucas Moura scored that hat trick. He was the manager of Ajax. So if you want to go down that route of going and getting Eredivisie players and Ajax players, you're very quickly going to turn Man United into what they are now, really. A team that look bang average, yeah, that are signing players that are not great for top dollar. Yeah. And where do they go from there? Like, listen, I put Man United to finish above Arsenal this season. Yeah, just based off of them beating us in pre-season, if I'm being honest. Yeah, but when I've seen them these 2 games, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, boy, they're going to struggle this season if they keep playing that 3 in midfield, which makes it even more like mind-blowing that they haven't gone and signed Amrabat. And again, I think he played in the Eredivisie, didn't he? So
it's the balance, innit? It's the balance that you've got to worry about, but it's the balance that Ten Hag has decided to have. So, for instance, I didn't rate Fred, but I think that Fred, Bruno and Casemiro is a more balanced midfield than what we've seen. I think that's a more balanced midfield.
Scott McTominay would fit better in there right now.
I agree 100%. It's the one thing I questioned from the Mount sign, and I said, okay, we need to establish a few things, because the response was always, well, Mason Mount can play left wing, he can play attacker, he can do this, he can do that. Well, let's say that's true, even though I'll question it, but let's say that's true. He's not going to go above Rashford, and you need a new striker. And he's not going to play right wing because you've got Sancho and Antony for there. So then now that kind of limits him to a midfield position. And then you're not going to drop Bruno because you've just made him captain. So now you've got your new special number 7 signing, and you've got your captain in Bruno, and there's no places there for a regular position or regular play up front. Therefore, he has to stay there. And then that means you're going to be playing Casemiro, Bruno and Mount. And there's not really much room for change. So for me, I'm looking at that thinking, well, that's a huge imbalance, because Bruno and Mount are very like for like in a way that they can be quite wasteful at times. They'll just try things to try. And I don't think there's much precision there on both. I'm not saying that they are terrible players. I've certainly seen much worse. But those two together in a midfield at once, that's where it doesn't work for me. And I think Ten Hag's hoping that Mason Mount can turn into... Do you like the way Gini Wijnaldum was like attacking at Newcastle? And he was sound at Newcastle from goal score. And then he came to us and barely scored. Got like 11 goals in one season for Newcastle. He must have got no more than that for us in his whole career. And he always scored for the Netherlands because the role he fitted well. He was one of those box-to-box. He'd get stuck in. He was nice. I don't think Mason Mount will become that player. And I think that's exactly what Ten Hag's trying to change him into. So that's where the problem lies. He's trying to evolve players into a position that they just simply don't turn into. I think Donny van der Beek will bring a more balanced midfield than what they've got right now. Him, Bruno, and Casemiro. Eriksen's interesting because he's just again. Last season when he played at times he was fine, but then there's certain things that I question with Eriksen where he is just an old dude. You know what I mean? Like he should probably just now be thinking,
just retire if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Because, listen, what happened to him was crazy, man. I can't believe he's even playing football, if I'm honest. But
the fact he came back and done as well as he did for Brentford, and he's done a bit at United, but I just don't think he's the player that elevates them. So if he was because now what we're talking about, we're saying, okay, Mount is a problem at left centre mid, correct? And then now we're saying, well, what's the solution? Well, the solution isn't Mason Mount because we've just said he's a problem, and then the solution isn't Eriksen because he's too old, and then we know that McTominay's still not great, and we also know that Donny van der Beek isn't favoured. So that's a huge problem, and it doesn't look like they're going to get someone else. So I agree with you. I think you've hit the nail on the head with it being a potential distraction, just so that they might not have to get anybody else in the summer. Because if everyone's under the belief they're going to sell, and they don't sell, but they're under the belief until it's interesting. It's until deadline day. Because think about it, you're now giving yourself a chance not to have to get new players. In a way, why are we going to spend more when we're going?
Well, apparently they need to get players out before they can get players in. This is Man United Football Club.
Maybe that's the excuse. But then who are they going to sell?
Yeah, well, Harry Maguire's saying, I ain't leaving. The show goes on. Yeah, Scott McTominay's not going anywhere as it stands. Donny van der Beek's not going anywhere as it stands. Like, who are they getting out? And where are they getting the money for these players? They're letting Greenwood go. Yeah, are they going to get a fee for him? Or have they just ripped up the contracts? Like, it's baffling, mate. That club is a mess. Like, honestly, it's a mess. And the thing is, they've got the income to be able to pay their way out of the mess. The problem is that the players that they're signing are not players that you look at and think, oh, I'm worried about them.
At all.
Like, and the manager, listen, like I said, I put Man United above Arsenal. I'm not going to sit and blag that I didn't. I did. I put them above Arsenal this season based on a couple of things. Number one, they competed on 3 cup fronts last season and got top 4. Right? They've now gone and got a better goalkeeper, in my opinion. But having said that, the rest of their business has been bang average. Yeah, it's been bang average.
Exactly with you. The goalkeeper's a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
Can't even be ignored. Like, it was actually Man United fans' fault that goalkeeper lasted so long, because I thought 2-3 years, and United fans don't even get salty, he weren't that good. I know he got all the clean sheets in his last season, and I know he was there, but he weren't the standard of a goalkeeper needed. You know what I'm saying? I think Onana fits that profile. I think that there's been some good business, but it's interesting. The best business that Ten Hag has done was the obvious link with Casemiro, who was already linked to that club prior to him moving, and then, prior to Ten Hag fully being there, and then also Lisandro Martinez, who was an Ajax player. Now, let's establish how Lisandro Martinez was identified. Ten Hag isn't choosing his own targets there. He's using the academy, which is by far and away the best academy in that country. And then he's got the most resources by far and away. So even though he's got more resources at United than Ajax were number 1 in that league, and now he's gone to number 3 in this league. Because I'd say Chelsea and City probably have more resources than United in some senses, you know what I mean? Like, financially. At least based on how they're willing to spend it. And also the organisation around the football club, because City's
if you look at the pull of Man United, back under Fergie days was up here. If Man United came in for you, you're going Man United.
That's right.
The pull now.
Fergie had Gerrard dream. Like Fergie was that good. He had Gerrard at least thinking about going to United. I don't care how many times Gerrard comes out and says I'm a Scouse at this, that you at least thought about it.
He was thinking about it. Same with Chelsea. He was thinking about Chelsea because back then Chelsea's pull's always up here now. Yeah, because they will just go over the odds and pay.
I know that firsthand.
But the thing is, Man United's pool was mad. Yeah, and it's slowly, gradually got lower and lower and lower and lower and lower to the point where now Man City are far and away clear of everyone in this league. Yeah, then you've got Chelsea that will just pay over the odds. Then you've got Arsenal that can pull players more than Man United. Yeah, and I look at it and I just think, what has happened to Man United that is so? And then it all comes back to the ownership. But the problem with that, and you've had bad owners at your club, you've got bad owners at your club now. You got rid of bad owners before, and you've got bad owners again. Yeah, we've got bad ownership, but to be fair to them, since they fully brought the football club in 2019, 18, whenever it was, and they were full owners, they've spent. So we can't knock that, But I'd rather a Sheikh, I'd rather a Saudi, I'd rather a Qatari, because now we can go and challenge with the big boys. Yeah, but when I look at Man United, the only way they get rid of their ownership is if the fans just stop going. But they won't do that. All you get is the same as what it was under the Kroenke and Kroenke out. Oh, but if I give up my ticket, somebody else will buy it. Yeah, that's great, but you've done your bit. And they don't want
Yeah.
to do their bit. It's just all virtue signaling crap online. Yeah,
That's
oh
right,
yeah,
that's right.
Conky out, Glazers out, FSG out, but here you go, here's another grand for a season ticket.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's
the
right.
Glazers are just sitting there like, well, this is easy. Yeah.
It's what ownerships do, isn't it? So that's why it's important for fans to identify, okay, what's the incentive for owners nowadays? It's to increase their own finances. That's fair. But then you've also got to analyse there's a huge incentive for them to stick to top four. Chat, get on this. You're telling me, Liverpool, who were linked with Bellingham, for instance, what's the incentive to go and spend 100 million on Jude Bellingham, chat? Because let's just say we finished 5th last year. Let's say we hypothetically got Bellingham for 100 million. That now gets you from 5th to, let's say, top 4, or let's say, if you buy Bellingham, you aim to win the league. Well, Bellingham doesn't guarantee you the league. And also you're spending over 100 million for the player. Or you can go and get Endo, hope Klopp can work miracles again, get back into top 4 and get that Champions League revenue, which is still very, very, very profitable for the football club, by the way. And Klopp has made us a sustainable top 4 team. And I think that's what Arsenal want. I think that's what we want. I'm not going to sit there and say they don't want a Premier League or they don't want a Champions League, because they know if they do this, then it's going to increase the market in other football club. However, are they willing to do what other teams are willing to do season in, season out, consistently? No, because that's not the game. That is not the game to be profitable. And if you are in the game to be profitable, that's where you'll see the trophies decrease. And that's
an absolutely spot on fact as well, because when we finished 5th the season before last, I think we earned £9 million prize money or TV money and prize money for finishing in that position in the league, less than Man City, who won the league. 9 million. So what is the incentive to go out for Man United to go and do above and beyond to go and get an extra 9, 10, 11 million? What is the incentive for Liverpool? What is the incentive for Arsenal? I know we've spent a lot. Yeah, so fair play. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
how long's for that for, though, Lee? How long's that for? Because you've got to ask that question, innit?
Are we going to do it again next summer? Are we going to do it the summer after that? We're going to keep doing it every summer?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think what they've done is they've got a now solid core at Arsenal of a good starting 11, a very good starting 11, with a couple of decent bench players. The rest of that squad is not good enough. Yeah, and ultimately, which leads me on seamlessly to Arsenal, I wanted to get your view on Arsenal, because I look at it and we signed Timber. He's out for the season pretty much. We've got rid of a goalkeeper and replaced him with another goalkeeper. We got rid of Xhaka. We've replaced him with Rice. So that's 2 in, 2 out.
Yes.
We've got Timber. He's injured. So the only player in terms of actual extra body at the football club is Kai Havertz. And people are sitting there going, right, Arsenal definitely, they have to win a major honour. Yeah. Do you think we're going to do anything this season?
In terms of major honours?
And yeah, well, just anything. Are we going to win anything? Well, we know the League Cup's beneath us. The Superfan channel told us that. we have only replaced like for like. The only extra body is Kai Havertz.
Okay, yeah, no, I see your problem. I do believe that you can do something in one of the cup competitions. I don't think you'll do anything on a European front. I don't think you'll win the league. I think the cup competitions can always go an Arsenal way, because even through your bad spells, you've been able to pick up an FA Cup here and there. Even if it's a League Cup this time round, I think it's something that's possible or at least achievable. Otherwise, I don't see much else. And it's not because, like, to be honest, I think the project is really exciting. And I know you don't like that word, but for me, I look at what they've built, not what they've done in the past. I'm not saying they've done everything perfect, but what they've got to now is a good position. They've got a nice young defence. Timber, I thought that was a quality signing. I know that he's injured now, but just that ambition, you know what I mean? Like that type of player, boss, top European prospect, next to Saliba and Gabriel. Like if that was my own, like we're sticking with Joe Matip and Joe Gomez as our backups at the moment. I'm thinking to myself, like that is the quality in which we need. You get what I'm saying? So that centre-back's brilliant. Even with like Ben White just being an option, who's fine. Get what I mean? Like Ben White would probably be our third choice if he walked in straight away. He could probably compete with Van Dijk in certain form. So that's why I'll sit there and say I like it. And I even like players like Odegaard and Saka and Martinelli. I think you've got a good core, good atmospheric young team that definitely has potential to win trophies. But this season itself, I just don't think you're better than other teams is the main problem. You know what I mean? I think Arsenal have done great work these past 2 seasons in terms of investments. And I think a lot of them have been hits. But like you say, You know, I'd always raise the question in it. Like, it's funny how fickle fans are that they would have one. If Chelsea had signed Enzo and we'd signed Caicedo, we wouldn't have that same banter. You know, on it, like we're there, like, oh, Caicedo flopped on his debut, and we've got Enzo. There's fans who actually are doing this. I do it for shamelessness. I've got to be shameless, otherwise I'll be depressed in it. But I'm admitting I'm being shameless. Whereas you'll get fans from Arsenal, they'll be like, I love Declan Rice. But I bet you last season, I bet you if Declan Rice ends up going to Chelsea and you end up keeping Xhaka, I think fans are like, thank God for that. Because we've got Xhaka. Our boss is Xhaka. You know what I mean? So it just really, fans are changing their opinions based on who they get in the shirt, not opposed to who they think is doing well, which is why when they come on and watch people like me and you, and we explain it in a little bit of a different way, it's incomprehensive towards them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think that's why they might see someone like you and go, he's negative. He's got one thing always. How come we win and he's angry? Well, because you're not really looking for the short-term pleasure. You're looking for the overall sustainability of being a successful team year in, year out, which I don't think is a terrible thing to ask for. In fact, I think that's what we all want to some degree. We just have different methods to get in there. So I agree with your point of view. I think it's a good position for Arsenal, but I can certainly understand someone's skepticism on can this continue and can it go beyond? Because let's say last year and this year is a part of your special era, right? I think our special era started in 17-18, where we got to the Champions League final against Real Madrid. And then the next season, we won the Champions League. And the season after that, we won the Premier League. And we're looking back at that saying, well, we only got a Premier League and Champions League. I mean, we did win it one of everything, but it was a big, big shame that we couldn't multiply anything as well. Imagine if it was 3 to 4 year spell for Arsenal and you left it with a Community Shield, a League Cup and an FA Cup. That'd be underwhelming, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And that could very well happen. Because you still don't look like you're going to be better than City. And then you still don't look like... And if United do get these new owners, well, that's a further problem. And then if we somehow find our shit, then you're just back to where you was prior to Arteta. So,
and that's the fine margin in football as well. And this is why I get the ump with my team.
And do you trust... And last thing, Lee, do you trust these owners with those fine margins? I think that's where your problem is, isn't it? You don't trust them with the fine margins.
I don't... It's not... See, I don't really care who owns my football club. Yeah, as long as they're doing what's required. And I just look, and I think we've done some great business. We've signed some fantastic players, but we've had a lot of duds in there as well. A lot of duds. Yeah, like Runnison, for example. Apparently he's on 35 grand a week and we've just loaned him to Cardiff. Like, we bought him for 1 million and paid him 35 grand a week. I mean, what planet are you living in? Yeah, like, it must be such a good gig being a footballer these days, mate. I swear, because you could be bang average.
We're paying... Lee, you're going to love this when I tell you that. You want to know the best stat of the day, bro? You ready for some comedy? Adrian is on 60k a week, my G.
Oh, wow. And he's staying.
For next
year. Because
year.
Nobody else is paying him that, mate. But a bit like Harry Maguire. 190, West Ham offered 100. He's like, no, I'm staying at United then.
Lee, his contract ran out, bro. We had him gone. Like, we were done with Adrian. Nice one for the Super Cup. Sayonara. And the next thing you know, we give him a year fucking extension. And by the way, we've got one homegrown spot left in terms of who we can buy. Think about that, Lee. One homegrown spot.
Do you know what? It does kind of make sense that you gave him a 1 year contract, because if you're paying him 60 grand a week for 50 weeks or 52 weeks, that's 3 million quid. It's going to cost you more than that to go and buy a new goalkeeper and then pay the wages. So I get why they've done it. We did exactly the same with Eddie Nketiah. Yeah. But again, it's just cost cutting for the ownership. Yeah. And it winds me up, because for my club, it's like we're one striker, one midfielder, and maybe a right wing cover away from actually being great. Yeah, and when I see people saying, "Oh, we don't need a striker," if Eddie can start scoring, it's like, come on, Eddie Nketiah is 24 years old, mate. It's never going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen at Arsenal. Let's just be real with it. He'll run around a lot. He'll make himself a bit of a nuisance, and he'll score the odd tap in. Cool, great. Yeah, I don't want that. I want a proper top striker that we know can proven year in, year out, can bag goals. Yeah. And for me, we should have been putting a bid in for Harry Kane. Whether it happens or not is irrelevant. At least test their resolve. Yeah. Go and get Ivan Toney. Yeah, he's the second best striker.
No fucks given, you know what he's saying. Get the best of the best, regardless of the circumstances.
Bro, Champions League apparently attracts world-class players, and Arsenal have signed none. So... Do you know what I'm saying? This is all I keep hearing, bro. Champions League gets you the best players in the world. And then we go and sign Kai Havertz. Okay, good one.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you're on about.
He'll be manager of Chelsea in 20 years. It worked for Ollie, didn't it? But so are you on the same page as me then? You still think City are walking the title again then, yeah?
Walking is
Or
more of a
winning,
definition of like, winning, yeah. But then again, no, that technically is even if they go and win it by 2 points again. Let's be honest, they've walked the fucking league because it's like the 5th league they've won in a row. Yeah, I mean, hindsight's being kind to Liverpool in those title runs because City just have not stopped, brother. Like, they have not stopped. They've just kept going. And I wish we could have kept up with them. I think we had a real opportunity there to either get on their level or whatever. But it's like, you notice it in YouTube. I'll put it in a reference that we'll both understand. YouTube, you upload every single day. Momentum's nice. You've got the regular people coming back. Everyone knows you're uploading. You take that 1, 2, 3 days off. Well, now we've got a little bit of work to do again. You get what I'm saying? We need to build the shows back up. We need to do this, that, and the other. So it's the same with football. The difference is in those 2, 3 days off, there might not be another YouTuber who the people who was watching us now go decide to watch. But in football, there's always teams doing business, brother. And now that teams have increased resources in terms of finances, Premier League revenue, etc. The second you're in the Premier League, I mean, bro, look at Nottingham Forest last season, for fuck's sake. They literally bought a whole new squad just because they were a Premier League team. When have you ever seen, like, Premier League teams have that ability before? It's so different. And because of those fine margins, when you see Aston Villa making statement signings like Diaby, Newcastle making statement signings like Tonali, before they can even spend like a cunt, they haven't even spent like a cunt yet, Lee. Like, Newcastle,
crazy. I can't lie.
They ain't even scrape the surface of how many bastards they can be. But they got the right manager, they put in the right project, and they bought what seems so far to be the right players. And I think you probably would have been more encouraged by someone like Tonali opposed to like Declan Rice. I don't know your opinion, but
I like Declan Rice. I actually think Declan Rice is class, man. But
you're saying that, yeah.
I think we needed a Declan Rice and one other, maybe a Lavia. Because we've got Thomas Partey, we've got Declan Rice. I didn't want to see 65 million quid of our transfer budget wasted on Kai Havertz when we could have either gone out and got Lavia for that, or we could have gone out and got Ivan Toney for that. Yeah, and I feel like having that striker or having that midfielder that is actually a midfielder, not a midfielder that's, well, what even is Kai Havertz? Nobody even knows what his position is. Yeah, and I feel like we've kind of spent 65 million quid there.
Do you think you've got with him what United have got with Mount?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I do think Mount's a better player. Yeah, I think Mount has more about
more
his
efficient.
game than Kai Havertz. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and the thing is, the fact that Chelsea robbed both of our clubs for 125 million quid for them, so is madness when you actually deep it. They'd literally paid for Caicedo and got change off of the back of them. That is mad. It is actually insane. Yeah, and the thing for me is, like, there's so many good players out there, but like this is another thing that triggers me. Everyone says, "Oh yeah, but the pool of strikers is so thin. There's hardly any good strikers out there." What a load of rubbish! Yeah, Vlahovic. Whether I want these players or not, they're strikers that can score goals. Vlahovic is out there. Ivan Toney's out there. Harry Kane was available. Lukaku's available. What's his name? Ollie Watkins. You could get him. Yeah, there's strikers out there, bro, and that's just 5 I've reeled off just like that. Yeah, you could go to other leagues. Yeah, Kolo Muani's available. Yeah, I think he's about to go PSG, isn't he? Or is he at PSG? I don't even know. Yeah,
he is.
But there's strikers out there that you can buy. But this narrative, yeah, I'm not saying that I want all of these, but this narrative that the pool of strikers is at an all-time low is rubbish.
Yeah, just don't tell me that you can't. Like, don't tell me that there's people who are fully employed to scout players. Don't tell me that you can't find one person. Like, there was a point in time where Haaland wasn't Haaland. No, but think about it, though, Lee. There was a time where Haaland wasn't Haaland. There was a time where Osimhen wasn't Osimhen. Like, all these strikers at one point were nobodies. It's about identifying the nobodies. That's exactly the game.
Who's the fella that's just signed for PSG from Benfica? What's his name? Or Porto, wherever it was.
Giacomo Ramos.
Yeah, Ramos. There's another one. Mitrovic was available. So I'm saying, when people say there's no strikers available, absolute garbage. Yeah. So it's like, oh, let's share the goals out. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Let's share the goals out. But now if you have a striker up front that can bag 20, and then your wingers are getting 15 each, and your number 10's getting 15, all of a sudden you're now going to win a title. Yeah, because last season we didn't have a striker that scored 20 goals. Yeah, I think.
Go on. I was just going to say, we both agree that Twitter is filled majority with people who are younger. It's a younger generation. What does a younger generation analyze? Statistics. How do you get a lot of your statistics? Mainly off FIFA. And a lot of these times, FIFA players can be highly rated. And then the determination on whether there's players on the market or not is who is the high rated players on FIFA, who is available. Now, I'm not saying that's the premise for everybody, but it's certainly one that people go with. And it's one that people are happy to align with as well. For me, I sit there and say, no. Because again, it's about identifying the players who aren't league winners and making them league winners. How do they fit in your system and elevate your team with their attributes alone? That's why I sit there and say, I question Havertz. Okay, fine. Based on pedigree, he was a top prospect in Germany. And then he went to Chelsea and he won a Champions League. So based on the resume, it's actually a W. But then when you analyse the attributes, that doesn't quite match. That's what I'm saying to people about Enzo. It's like, if Enzo is coming in as a utility man, if he's not there to be the main if he's the main CDM, that's a problem. If he's a utility man, that's fine. Because now he's coming in to do a different role. Even if it might not be who you want. But Havertz is seeming to come in to replace Xhaka. I don't understand that like for like change. And then I don't understand how he brings the defensive aspect. And then I also don't understand how he brings an efficient enough attacking aspect. Like, I think that's where he thrives most, but then I still see him be wasteful. So I have got my questions on why that signing was made. But then you've just got to think, like, did Arteta just see something that just couldn't add to the system? Because he must have saw something, brother. Like, he's got it. That's got to work. To go with a ballsy move like that, it's got to.
And bro, the thing is, he's going to die on that hill because he ain't good enough. Yeah, he's played 3 games for Arsenal. He's played the Community Shield. He's played the 2 league games. Bro, for me, he's been awful in all 3 of them. But now these fans are now coming out with, oh, but he wins his duels. He won 8 out of 9 duels against Palace. Yes. And what? Like, Granit Xhaka was winning his duels.
That's right.
And what? Granit Xhaka, for me, weren't a great player. Yeah, but Granit Xhaka last season was winning his duels and bagging goals and assists.
That's right.
Kai Havertz has done none of that apart from just win some duels. Well, I'd expect you to win your duels. Number one, you're 6'4", and I see him duck out of a header the other night. Yeah, that was the one duel he didn't win. He ducked out of that header, right? And then people go, oh, but he got 90% pass accuracy. And what, mate? Like, at the end of the day, we made hard work of the first 2 games of the season. We've got the points on the board, which is all that matters. But ultimately, at the end of the season, we ain't winning the title. So all of this winning your duels is going to lead to nothing. Yes. It's baffling. Big up everyone inside, man. There's nearly 1,000 people in here, which is mad for this time of the day. I appreciate it, man.
Big up, guys.
So I know that some of you are probably watching this like 1 a.m. in Australia or somewhere. Like,
you got more Australians, more fucking Australians. Yeah,
good day, mate. And make sure you sub to James's channel. It's in the title. We are going to move on to Liverpool in a second. I do appreciate everyone in this chat saying, stop smoking, it kills, it's unhealthy. Bro, when my time's up, my time's up. Like, I'm cool with it. Yeah, like I could literally walk out the end of my road today and get flattened by a bus. Yeah, touch wood, it don't happen. When your time's up, bro. There's a path already aligned for me.
They just love you, Lee. When people are trying to say please don't die, it just means they love you loads. You know what I'm saying?
I actually enjoy smoking. When I don't enjoy it, I will stop. But I actually enjoy it.
No, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. That's the thing. That's the thing. We just want you for longer, lad. That's all. You know, what are we going to do without our league gunner, honestly? The second you're gone, we're fucked, lad.
YouTube would be a lot quieter, put it that way. Big up Mr. Tiebox as well for the £50 donation. I really appreciate that, buddy. Big up to the other 2 lads that dropped in as well, Danny and Lee Gunner Goat. We're better this year. Rice is better than Xhaka. I agree with that. I think Rice is. Young players older will be better. Better on the bench. Trossard was only half a season. Man City is worse. Man United is worse. Liverpool, meh. Chelsea, useless. My £2,000 bet stands. Yeah, I had a bet with this guy yesterday on the football terrace that Arsenal don't win the league. £2,000 to Great Ormond Street Hospital. Yeah, so
that's it.
Yeah, come on. Listen, I hope I have to donate that money. I can't lie.
Yeah,
but ultimately, I don't think Man City are worse because they got a better manager and he'll find a way. Yeah, and I do think we're better in terms of we've got Rice in and he's better than Xhaka. The young players are older. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be better for me, though.
I think everybody's trying to find a way of City being worse as well, aren't they? I think people have been trying to do that. I had a genuine thought process that, okay, collectively, I think they'll get worse in the league just because the stylistic change, just collectively. Now, worse doesn't mean bad, and worse can still mean better than everybody else. You can lower by 5% and still be well better Same way Floyd Mayweather can still be better than everybody at a
Yeah, they
later
might
age.
not be as pretty to watch,
Yes.
but they'll be
Yes.
effective. They've not conceded a goal yet, and they ain't been great, have they?
Well, that's the thing. You think about how solid they are defensively. It's hard to score against them. And then they still are going to score a lot of goals, whether you like them or you don't. It's just as simple as that. So that's why I sit there and I say, like, listen, okay, fine, they might not be as strong in your perception, but as long as they're still better than everyone else, that's all that matters, and they can just continue to build. You know what I'm saying? So,
and I think they are better than everyone else. Like, they've just signed Doku.
Yeah.
I don't know much about him.
He's
But
quality.
one thing, but a lot of people have been saying that. I've seen some of the clips doing the rounds and that. But the thing is, we know with Pep that he ain't just going to throw him straight into the starting 11. Yeah, he won't just hang him out to dry like that. He did that with Grealish, who was 100 million quid. So he ain't just going to throw a 21-year-old raw talent straight into the team. Yeah, with the defence, Vardial looks top. He looks quality. Yeah, I know he got rinsed by Messi, but who hasn't been rinsed by Messi? I mean, come on. Yeah, like, he looks like a quality player. And that back line they've got, and the goalkeeper, they'll probably have the best defence in the league. And if they have the best defence in the league, and then they've got the machine up front, Foden looked absolutely top draw the other night against Newcastle. Yeah, best player on the park. Yeah, and then the fact that they're still in for Dani Olmo, who's not a bad player. Yeah, they're in for Paqueta. I think he's a good player, but he ain't worth nearly 100 million. They'll probably end up with Dani Olmo, Doku. And I think that, yes, it's a big miss with Mahrez not being there. He bagged 15 goals in all comps last season. It's a big miss with Gundogan going. Yeah, it's a big miss with Van Dijk. A big miss with Kevin De Bruyne out injured for 4 months. But ultimately, Pep will find a way because he is the best manager in the world. And I think that I would love, if Arsenal went and signed Ivan Toney, even though he's not available till January, I think we're miles better. Yeah, because he is almost a complete striker. He can do everything. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's world class, but in terms of hold up play, link up play, working hard, holding the ball up, scoring all types of goals, working the channels, he's got everything. And his passing class as well. And I think if we just added that into our team, I think we're in a great position to win a title. Because we know that Jesus is going to be out injured. We know that Eddie's going to go through a dry patch. We know that Saka's going to be hit and miss sometimes in games, but ultimately he'll probably be one of our better players and will score goals. But I think what a lot of people, and it's not a dig at this guy either, I appreciate the donation, mate. What I think a lot of people are underestimating is we threw away 3 cup competitions last season. Literally threw them away. Yeah, we can't throw away the Champions League this season. Because everyone's so excited to be back in it. You can't just go, right, well, second leg against Benfica, we'll play the whole reserve team like we did against Sporting Lisbon. You can't do that. No choice. We have to. And the draw, I think the draw's next week, isn't it? 31st.
Yes.
Yeah, next week the draw. So there we go. We're going to see who we get. Luckily for us, we're in pot 2 and not pot 3 because of Juve.
Nice.
So big up Juve. Otherwise, we would have been finished. I can't lie. But let's move on to Liverpool, bro. It's been mad for you guys. I can't lie, man. You've gone in for Lavia. Well, in fact, let's go back further than that. Jude Bellingham. Yeah, there was all the stories that Jude's going to come to Liverpool. Everyone was getting hyped. And then it was, they've put the money up. We ain't got the money. And then he goes to Real Madrid. He's absolutely killing it, by the way. Fair play to him. And then you go in for what's his name? Lavia. Yes. Yeah, and you're kind of 40 million, 44 and a half, 44.6, 44.6 plus 1. Yeah, and then out of nowhere, record fee for Caicedo, and he ends up joining Chelsea. For me, I think you cocked up. As soon as that bid gets accepted, you get him straight to Liverpool, even if it was 1:30 in the morning. I don't care. You get him straight there. You get him in the training ground, and you ain't leaving. That gets done to Chelsea, and now you go back in for Lavia, and Lavia's like, well, hold up, I ain't a side chick here, mate. Right? Do you know what I'm saying? And now he goes to Chelsea, and then you end up signing Endo, which, as I said, everyone can laugh at it, and I've laughed at it. If he's the only one, then that's done. You have to go and get someone else. You're looking at the guy Decore, he ain't worth 80 million, but you've shown your hand now. I personally think you'll end up with Douglas Luiz. I can't lie. I've said this all summer. You'll end up. How do you see it all, man? Like, because you must be so frustrated.
It's a great question. It's a great question. How am I doing? So I'm doing fine. People thought I was losing my marbles the other week, and I was, by the way. Because here's the score. Do you know when you predict an outcome and you predict something to happen. So last year I said we could get Europa League with the way we've spent this summer, and I was talking about last summer. But in present tense, I was talking this summer. Nunes isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. It doesn't elevate us from second to first. And if fans believe this does, and you've seen the minimal improvement that we've made, well then we could drop out of the top four with the improvements other teams are making. Because as we said before, it's fine margins. And again, we knew the possibility of injuries, which is why we need numbers. People seem to think I just say, let's get numbers for the sake of it. Let's get signings because it's fun. That's not my logical conclusion. And by the way, I think you'll be an idiot to say that that's why you get transfers just because it's exciting. No, it's because it's necessary. You think about our quadruple chasing season, and you think about that was one of the most stacked squads on the pitch and on the bench that we had. We had literally Minamino winning us cups, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm sitting there and thinking, okay, then, well, there's a case study that a big squad works well. And then there's case studies where, for instance, 2017 final in Kiev, Salah gets off injured and we bring on Adam Lallana. Well, now that's a big problem. And you could suggest if we had an adequate right winger to back Salah, well, then he can do a job. The same way that when Salah was injured for the Barcelona Champions League semi-final and Shaqiri stepped in, Shaqiri had the quality and the experience on a big stage to do a job. And that's exactly what he's done. He got an assist in that game. And that's why I sit there and I go, okay, then. So case studies suggest if we get quality as well as quantity, well, then now quantity isn't a bad thing. If we identify the right quantity, then great. That's why now, fast forward to now, we're in Europa League. So, and you know, like when you say something and you could be being a bit over exaggerative to get people to see your point, but you actually do mean it as well. You think we genuinely could get Europa League, but I understand why people think it's so far out of the way because we've just competed for a quadruple. How do you go from competing for a quadruple to then finishing fifth? It's incompetence. It's season after season of not recognising, okay, our players are a little bit older and we're not doing excessive business to improve the overall squad. And then you fast forward to this summer. The Lavia thing was just dumb as fuck because we had that 50 million there. Lee, if I had something that you wanted and I said, Lee, I'm not really looking to sell it, but if I was to let it go, I am going to sit there and say, say if you really needed a lighter and I had a lighter and you had no other way to get a lighter, there was no shops close by, you like, James, I'll pay you £3 for that lighter. It's more than what I'd usually pay for a lighter, but I'm so desperate right now, I will pay you £3. Well, actually, Lee, I want 5. When that runs out,
I've got 2.
when them 2 run out and we're in the middle of nowhere and then we're discussing, well, Lee, I want 5. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to use my lighter. I need it to keep my hands warm. So F you. If you give me 5, so I'll have to say yes. All right, then. Well, here's £3.50. I've just said, Lee, I've let you know my price. I'm also now letting you know that I'm not willing to negotiate. I appreciate the offer. And this is all I'm doing is the example between me and you is exactly what Southampton were doing. We do 46.1. We've said 50. It starts off as 37.5. By the way, Liverpool were not willing to negotiate, you know what I mean? Then it goes to 42 and it's like, okay, we asked for 50. And then again, they said we asked for 50. And what we did, which was done, we let Chelsea swoop in that time. That was my problem with it. Because people were saying to me, no, James, it's good that we're doing negotiations because it sets a bad precedent. If we don't go out there and let's say if we don't negotiate and we just pay 50 million willy-nilly, it sets a bad precedent. Well, now think about the precedent that's been set. Because now we've just missed out on 2 targets because even though personal terms was agreed with Lavia, we didn't agree with the club, which left Chelsea to go and swoop in and then gave them direct talks to actually contact the player, potentially offer him more wages, which is very likely, and then get him in the team. But then we thought, let's be ballsy. Even though Lavia could be ours, we could go and put in 50 million. Let's go and get Caicedo. Let's go and do something huge this summer because the fans are on our back. So we know we've got the money. We go and put 110 million for Caicedo without even agreeing personal fucking terms. Lee, I'm just asking, like...
It's crazy.
That's a problem. That is such a problem when you book a medical for a player who doesn't even know why, like, you've booked the medical. Like, what the fuck? No contact with the player.
It's like that bunny boiler that just keeps harassing you, bro. It's like, just like, leave me alone. I need to get a restraining order on you.
Bro, we were fine. Like, our ex-girlfriend got a little bit older. We thought, let me try something new. Fabinho goes. Lavia, beautiful. Oh, what a beautiful Man City academy player. Came right into Southampton, done well. Look like a nice player, man. High ceiling. Oh, but look at this thing at the other side of the club. He's looking nice. He got Europa League last season, and he could come into our team right here, right now, and be the right here, right now. And it sets a good precedent because now we're setting the market or the transfer record, so fans have got to get off our back. Well, now let's go move to this. We get rejected. We get back to Lavia, and now Lavia is with a new guy. Like, what the fuck? This is where my issues raise. So overall, it's just one. There's no way you can paint it out in defensive. There's no way you can paint it out in defensive FSG. No way. And that's what people are trying to do. Oh, but James, they try to spend the money the same way I can try and get a six-pack. But if my want for a Domino's outweighs my want for a six-pack, well, I don't really want a six-pack, even though I actually do. You get what I'm saying?
Mate, I want to go out with Shakira. I've DM'd her 15 times. She ain't replied.
It'd be amazing. That's it.
I tried.
But there's categories for a reason, you know what I mean? That we've just got to know our lane sometimes. And that's why I sit there and go, okay, then I think it was very overambitious to go in there with a motherfucker like Todd Bowley, who's a very smart man, might be finding loopholes, might not be doing anything wrong, who knows? I think he's just read the rules and regulations. Do you like the way people don't fully go over?
The thing. He's come into this league and absolutely found loophole after loophole after loophole.
He's done his due diligence, is what he's done. He's like, okay, if I do these long-term contracts and I can get whoever I want, and it's not even a problem. Yeah, that's what he's done.
And do you know what the crazy thing is here? You made a point a few minutes back as well that you said that it's incompetence because you were going on for a quadruple, and you could go back before that, like when you were in these title charges year in year out. Yeah, and you were just going with the same 11 every single week. And James Milner had come on and Divock Origi had come. And it's like, eventually this is going to come undone.
Yes.
And you should have been going and getting a Gakpo then, yeah, or a Nunez then, instead of doing it when it's all fallen down. I say, listen, you were on for a quadruple. You then go and sign these players. You then have your worst season for years. Well, that's not necessarily on them two players, but you should have been doing that 2 years earlier. Yeah, going and finding another striker that's better than Divock Origi. Yeah, and listen, I know you Liverpool fans love him. I get that. I totally listen. He's been good off the bench for you lot. I understand. Yeah, but you should have been going and getting somebody better than him 2 years ago. Yeah, you should have been getting somebody better than Firmino 2 years ago, and Fabinho 2 years ago, and Hendo's coming to the end, and so on and so forth. And now you're in a position with 8 days of the transfer window left, where you lot are absolutely muddied. Because now every single club in the world knows you've got 110 million quid.
Yep. And they also know we really need a CDM.
Wait, mate. El Nenny's available.
Oh, fuck off, Lee.
Sam Bilakonga's definitely available.
Oh, we'll find
and they both get in your team. You ain't got a six. They get in your team. Mate, every single DM in the world gets into your team right now.
I feel like I've just been shot, and instead of you perfectly giving me your perfectly fine clean sheet, you're like, 1 second, mate, pick up a fucking leaf off the floor, which could be infected as shit, and go, here's that. That's what you just done there.
It's true. Every single DM on the planet walks into Liverpool starting 11 right now because you haven't got one.
I said this. We've got Jay Speedham, right? In our under 21s, he plays in our under 21s. So we've got Jay Speedham. At one point, he was our number one CDM.
He was, yeah.
Officially. It literally could not go any other way. I went on Rant Stream and a realization came. McTominay would walk into my team right now. Now, that's a problem. That's a huge issue. And I just think it's weird the way we let Fabinho go and then brought in this. Now, I think Klopp has had a lot to blame in this. I'm not going to lie to you yet. But then I sit there and I go, but listen, man, this club's not being run by him in the years. Now, I think he's got a little bit more control, which I think is a problem. But I highly doubt anyone with a brain, including Jurgen, has sat there and gone, okay, my solution is to sell Milner, sell Henderson and sell Fabinho, and then replace every one of them with Enzo. I don't think that's what he's done. Now, that's got to be a clusterfuck of multiple people who are involved with FSG, if you want to say the CEO, if you want to say Skamadka. And let's say we do attribute most of the blame to Jurgen. I personally don't. I attribute a lot of it to him, not all of it. But let's say we do that. Let's even align with that narrative. It's still FSG's fault. Because that's what people try and do, Lee. They go, oh, it's not FSG, it's Jurgen. Lee, do you know if I give a 5-year-old car keys in a car and they crash the car? Whose fault is it?
Exactly. I get 100%, bro. Listen, I want it. This is seamless. All of these seamless links that we're doing today. You mentioned Klopp, yeah, and some of the problem is Klopp, right? I said this on a few streams. I said it with Terry yesterday. I've said it with a few other people as well. I think Klopp is going down that Wenger era the last 6-7 years of Wenger, where he wants the players,
Yes.
but he's not going to push for the players too much.
Yes.
We'll make out, oh, yeah, well, we were in for, oh, I nearly signed it. Oh, well, I nearly signed him once. Yeah, okay, cool. Mate, the amount of teams Arsenal could have made off of nearlies is mad. Yeah, but sitting in press conferences and saying, yeah, we need a DM is all well and good. But what are you doing behind the scenes to go and get that DM? What are you saying to the FSG mob, yeah, to actively get it over the line? And for me, I think he's becoming a little bit of a puppet. Yeah, and I think that if he doesn't win anything this season, which is my question to you, two questions. Number one, do you think he's becoming a puppet? And number two, if you don't win anything this season, would you get rid of him? Because that's then 2 seasons in a row after being so great.
To answer the first question, I think he's been one. I think it's just a sense of he's a what you would call a good employee. And I don't think we should expect him to go beyond what is needed. And it'd be great. I don't think much is achieved by him going to the owners and saying, I need this. Because he's gone to the owners before and said, I want to keep this player. The owners have said no. Or he's gone to the owners and said, I want this player, and they've said no. So what we've just established by those 2 things is that the owners aren't really correspondent with Klopp's needs and wants, right? So I don't think it's productive him going to the owners and being a little rebel at all. I don't know what that achieves. Because also bear in mind, he's a very highly paid manager. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point in upsetting the people who are paying you from his point of view. So I understand what you're saying. Put a little bit more pressure. But I think there's examples where you can suggest, okay, maybe he's put that pressure on, and then others where he's not putting enough. Because if you're going to constantly, if you're telling someone to constantly clean their room, right? And they don't keep cleaning their room, it's going to get to a point where you, like, if you go round to your friends, it's always messy. It's like, listen, lads, I think to have a better lifestyle, you should probably clean up a little bit more. But they don't do it. You're going to stop telling them because you realize it's not resonating, it's not going in. So if you think it's going to be pointless walking all the way up to the office and saying, bam, 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 I need players, and they're not going to correspond, then you're going to stop doing it. So I think he's got to a point where he's just like, let me work with what I've got. Let me focus on what I know I can focus on and let them do all the rest of it. So that's to answer your first question, if that makes sense. It's not that I'm trying to blindly defend him. I'm just saying. No.
Listen, I understand it because, well, we went through this with Wenger.
With people who are incompetent. That's the problem.
Yeah. We went through this with Wenger for years and years and years.
Yes.
But I'm starting to see the signs that, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, this is going the same way. And if you don't win anything this season, yeah, then all of a sudden the excuses have come out. You start having more Klopp outs, yeah, and then the Klopp-ins will be fearful with it, and all of a sudden you're going to end up with an atmosphere that is exactly what we had with Wenger in, Wenger out.
Yes, and then to answer your second question, do I want Klopp out? No. Even if he doesn't win a trophy this season, I've got a bit of a. I'm fine if you think changing your manager is the direct solution. I'm okay with that. Like, if you have a good leg to stand on when it comes to your defence on why that's a good idea, great. But I do know if Klopp leaves, FSG remain. And I know that doesn't guarantee success if Klopp leaves. What I do know is Klopp has gone ahead and done something that no manager for Liverpool has been able to achieve since the late 70s and early 80s. You know, when you think about the era of Shankly and then Paisley and then Fagan and then Dalglish, in that era, it was back to back to back to back. There was a sustainable football club that was built by a philosophy that took a little bit of time. When Shankly first came in, he went and had to get us to the Premier League, and then he got us to the First Division, and then he got us to the top of the First Division. But there was a 7-year spell there where Bill Shankly never won anything. So I'm not sitting there saying, okay, then let's go and give Jurgen Klopp 7 years and he doesn't have to win anything. But I do think it's quite short term to sit there and say, okay, then 1 year and not winning a trophy, and 2 years, he now needs to go. Especially when, if Klopp stays, he can at least try and inject a philosophy at the football club that can make us more sustainable post-Klopp era. And do you know why Bill Shankly never won anything for 7 years? Because he kept hold of his favourites for too long. You know, you think about some of the best players of his first initial team that was winning stuff. Go and research this yourself, guys, because, again, I'm just kind of paraphrasing because I can't remember the year for year and whatnot. But the general squad was the same for a long time. And then eventually he was like, well, I'm going to have to let a lot of these guys go. But because he stayed and because we didn't let go of Shankly in that time, it then led to Bob Paisley now comes in and he continues to cycle. And then it goes to Fagan and then it goes to Dalglish, you know what I mean? So then you actually realise it was very productive keeping Shankly. So Lee, unless you say to me, James, if you let go of Klopp, you can bring in this manager and you get guaranteed success and you have points that provide substance there, I'm happy to listen. And they're like, great, fantastic. But then if you're going to say to me, there's still no guarantee of trophies, well, I'm going to say, well, maybe I might go for the long-term plan. more so, because I don't think there's anything that FSG can do, any resources that they possess to sit there and say, okay, we get a new manager and we win trophies. I just don't think it's guaranteed, and I think it's far from guaranteed. So that's why I'd stick with Klopp for the 4. It's going to be a while until I'm saying Klopp out, but that's purely because of our owners. It's not because I'm trying to say Klopp is blameless. There's a lot that I blame him for, mate. I
yeah,
don't
no,
know
listen, I see some of your videos and your streams and that, man, and like I see you with rants the other day. Like, yeah, you've been on him, but you deserve to be on him as well, because
yes,
at the end of the day, it's not been acceptable. Like last season was shambles, absolute shambles. And the thing is, this is how I know he's fallen a little bit, because that season you had about 1,000,001 centre-back pairings. You still got in the top 4. Yeah, last season you had injuries and it was poor, but then you go and slap Man United 7, and you're thinking, right, then you put Trent into midfield. If he had done that a little bit earlier, maybe you might have got top 4.
Yes.
Who knows? Yeah, but when you were poor last season, you didn't get in that top 4.
That's
Whereas
right.
when you was poor the other season, you got in top 4. Yeah, right. Despite playing Fabinho at centre back and Henderson at right back, and like, do you know what I'm saying? So I think he's gone stale. Yeah, I think he's gone a little bit stale. He's a little bit comfortable. He knows that he's like, and he did this at Dortmund as well, which is why I'm saying this, because at Dortmund he went all the way down near the bottom and then got them back up. I think they finished 5th or something, or 2nd, whatever. I don't know, right? But that was like 7-year itch, and it's like he's doing it again. It's almost like I'd take him at Arsenal in a heartbeat. Yeah, I would take him in. I would sack Arteta today and get Klopp. Yeah, because he is absolutely class. But I think that at Liverpool, I think it's all gone a little bit stale. Yeah, and maybe he's just comfortable with the wage packet, and okay, well, it is what it is. There's not really much pressure to go and win now, because Man City have done a treble. It's less pressure than it was when we were right up there with the front 3 and all of that stuff. We're not in the Champions League, so there's less pressure.
Do you know what?
Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, now you're in the Europa League, do you think you'll take that seriously? Because I know your European pedigree's mad, but more so in the Champions League.
No, I think we will take it serious. I'm not saying we'll win it, because anything can happen, but I do think we'll take it seriously. But just even what you were saying there, it's mad, because everything you said there was very accurate and actually very true, and you're right. But now I'll respond and say, okay, then, well,
you're going to grab some water. Go on, mate. I will be able to hear you. Go on.
Nah, Belter. So, chat, listen, hear me out on my logic, because you'll probably think I'm a little Klopp merchant, you know what I mean? So what I'm going to say is, so Jurgen Klopp, what's the greater risk here? You let him go, and then you now trust the decision-making of FSG. You understand why that's a problem in the chat. So now we're trusting the decision-making of FSG to not only let go of Klopp, but now replace him accurately. I think there's a greater risk of letting this man go. Let's say there's a possibility Klopp never comes back. Because if you're saying he's going stale, let's say there's a possibility he stays stale. I think that's lower than the possibility of him being able to bring us back to a top thing, because like we've said and agreed before, he's overachieved in many senses in his time at Liverpool. And that's why I referenced Bill Shankly before. Even he had a stale patch at one point, but then the benefit was actually keeping him, because it increased the long-term ambitions of the club. And that's what I'm kind of thinking with Klopp. If we keep him, it improves the long-term ambitions for the club. If there was a guarantee that we could replace Klopp now and get a manager in, and that means we're competing for trophies again, now I'm going to exercise that option. As I don't believe that's the case, that's why I'm going to sit there and say, actually, no, might be best to keep Jurgen Klopp. Don't trust this ownership to get somebody else. So it's not even just about being all in on Klopp or saying he's perfect. It's just simply saying he's got his flaws, as every manager has his flaws, but who can do the best with these current circumstances? And I don't think it's him. And who's the most likely to get us out of these circumstances? I think it's this dude. You get what I'm saying?
No, I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah, because the thing is, because I've seen this with Arsenal, with Wenger. Yeah, it's like it's a sticky one, because like I was Wenger out from 2011. As soon as we got battered at Old Trafford, mate, I was like, I'm done with him. Yeah, 8-2 at Old Trafford. I'm like, no, you're taking the mick. Yeah, and then it was like we're the nearly team. We and it's very reminiscent of you lot now. Going in for players, we can't quite get them. They're going Chelsea or they're going Man United. Yeah, and it's like now fast forward all these years later, Liverpool have got a manager that's been there 7 years, has done some really good stuff for Liverpool. He's made you a great team to watch. You've won top honours and stuff like that. Yeah, the only difference with Wenger is he never won in Europe. Klopp's obviously got that, yeah. But you're now getting players go to other clubs. They're rejecting you. You can't quite do the extra mile. You don't get this like that done. The ownership's poor. And it's like, it's very reminiscent of Arsenal. And I just think like, where's the cutoff point? Because Klopp, we know he ain't going to walk out. Yeah, we know he ain't leaving. Yeah, that's 100% for me. He ain't leaving. The owners ain't going anywhere. So where do you go as a club from here? You got to hope that Klopp weaves some magic somehow and wins something. Yeah, and I don't think he's got it in him at Liverpool right now. I don't see you winning anything this season, if I'm honest.
I hope you're wrong.
But you never know. But I know you've got to jump off as well, and we are going to wrap this up. Big up to everybody inside. There's 1,000 people in here. Let me read this out real quick from Sunka Goel. It says, the last 5 years, if FSG had spent that 50 million extra a season, they could have had 3 titles and 2 or 3 Champions League. Big club with small mentality. Yeah, right. Small club mentality. FSG out. Totally agree. Right. Totally agree. And this is the same as Arsenal. It comes back to the same as Arsenal. If Arsenal just went that extra mile and spent an extra, bought a striker instead of just buying Petr Cech, like, do you know what I'm saying? It's exactly the same. But listen, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a while, and it's been great to have you back on here, man. And we will be doing this every Wednesday, people. So make sure every Wednesday we're here. We can make it this time every Wednesday if you're on with Saeed.
I'm happy days, yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So midday every single Wednesday. I know you're going on with Saeed. I've got the redirect link. So as soon as this ends, it'll throw you straight over to Saeed's channel. And yeah, other than that, what have you got coming up, mate?
So I'll be doing plenty of streams. There'll be I've been doing nightly streams on a day-to-day basis. So if you want to tune in, a little bit of a Liverpool perspective, interactive chat, kind of like Lee's channel, then feel free to jump in. And there'll be a video throughout the day as well. So there'll be 2 videos on my channel. And as Lee mentions, I'll be jumping on Saeed's now. So big up the chat, man. Love to every single one of you for the support. I've even seen my subs jump up since I've been on here. So big up yourselves and pleasure.
Link in the title. I totally forgot you were on with Saeed, and I didn't even come the
I did. I noticed the time. I was like, shit. Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly. It's going to throw you straight to Saeed's stream. Show some love to James as well, man. Link in the title. I'll be back later on the second channel, and I'm on with Jez at 6 o'clock. We're out of here. Laters.
Sayonara.